For the first time in history, a man can become almost anything, and yet millions have no idea who they are supposed to be. More freedom, opportunity, and choice exist than at any point in human history. So why does it feel like something has been lost? Because freedom answers many practical questions. It does not answer the oldest psychological question of all. Who are you becoming? The modern man is no longer trying to become strong. He is trying not to be wrong. And those are not the same thing. For most of history, a man inherited a map, not a promise of happiness, not a guarantee of meaning. A map. It offered direction, expectations, a vision of who he might become. Your grandfather did not choose his identity. He received it. A role existed before he arrived. A path had already been drawn. Today, that map is gone. Somewhere between certainty and possibility, a generation lost the map. Most conversations about masculinity immediately collapse into politics. The conversation usually revolves around behavior, gender roles, and competing visions of what a man should be. But beneath those arguments lies a deeper fracture, a crisis of orientation. How does a human being find direction when the culture no longer agrees on the destination? The old answers lost authority. The new answers rarely survive scrutiny. The result is a strange form of uncertainty. Not uncertainty about what is possible, uncertainty about what matters. You can see it everywhere. Traditional milestones now arrive years later than they once did, leaving many men suspended between adolescence and adulthood. Many men find themselves standing in a landscape their grandfathers would barely recognize. A landscape overflowing with options. A landscape surprisingly short on direction. And when direction disappears, people begin searching for substitutes. This explains something many observers misunderstood. The enormous popularity of conversations about discipline, responsibility, purpose, and structure. People assumed men were searching for ideology. Many were simply searching for orientation. The panic of the shipwrecked looking for an anchor. Something stable enough to resist the current. This search is far older than social media. Joseph Campbell spent decades studying myth from different civilizations, religions, and cultures. Again and again, the same pattern appeared. A young man leaves the familiar world, encounters uncertainty, faces difficulty, returns transformed. The hero's journey was never really about adventure. It was about becoming. Ancient cultures understood something modern life often forgets. Transformation requires recognition. The individual must know it happened. The community must know it happened. A threshold must be crossed. A threshold is the moment one identity ends and another begins. Many societies build rituals around that transition, an ordeal that symbolically killed the old identity and welcomed a new one into the community. The message was unmistakable. The person you were no longer exists. Today, those thresholds are largely absent. The transition became private, ambiguous, easy to postpone. Without a clear threshold, something strange happens. The boy never dies. He simply ages. Robert Bly explored this idea in Iron John. He believed modern men were surrounded by information while remaining starved for initiation. Knowledge expanded, guidance weakened, connection increased, direction became harder to find. The result is a culture filled with men who possess endless information about life while remaining uncertain about how to live it. Perhaps that is why certain stories refuse to disappear. Fight Club is one of them. Not because Tyler Durden was right, because the film identified a wound. A generation searching for meaning inside a culture increasingly organized around consumption. Tyler Durden was never the solution. He was a symptom. The film understood something uncomfortable. Men are not looking for permission to fight. They're looking for something worth carrying, a burden meaningful enough to justify sacrifice, difficulty, and growth. The deeper question was never whether men were becoming softer. The question was whether they still knew what strength was for. Because strength without purpose becomes performance, and modern life is full of performance. Modern masculinity exists under permanent observation, where actions, opinions, and decisions are constantly evaluated. Visibility changes behavior. Eventually, identity itself begins adapting to the audience. A man learns how to project confidence, signal competence, and create the appearance of certainty. Yet internally, the foundation often remains fragile. The performance improves. The stability declines. Confidence becomes something projected rather than something earned. The goal quietly changes. Energy that once went into building character is redirected toward managing perception. That is an impossible burden, because certainty cannot survive in a world that changes constantly. Sooner or later, everyone encounters ambiguity. Everyone encounters contradiction. Everyone encounters uncertainty. The real question is whether identity can survive those encounters. Historically, strengths emerged through responsibility and direct confrontation with reality. Today, it is often confused with visibility. But visibility and strengths are not the same thing. One attracts attention, the other creates stability. And stability may become one of the rarest qualities of the coming era. The strongest man in the room may no longer be the loudest. He may be the one least interested in performing strengths. He may simply be the man who remains steady when everything around him becomes performative. Because the future will not belong to the loudest man. It will belong to the men who remain internally coherent while everyone else is reacting to the latest signal. The real crisis was never masculinity, it was orientation. For centuries, direction arrived before identity. Now, identity arrives before direction. Every man must answer a question previous generations were often allowed to inherit. Who are you becoming when nobody is watching? Eventually, the audience leaves, the screen goes dark, and you're left alone with the life you've built. What remains is the oldest challenge of all: to build a life that feels true without inheriting a map. Because the future will not belong to men who perfectly perform strengths. The next decade will reward a different quality, not certainty, but orientation. As institutions weaken and cultural consensus continues to dissolve, the ability to orient yourself will become increasingly rare, and therefore increasingly valuable. The men who know where they are going will hold an advantage over those still waiting to be told who they should become. Not because they inherited a map, but because they learned how to navigate without one. A generation can survive uncertainty. What it cannot survive is directionlessness. Maybe that is what masculinity has always been trying to teach. The courage to move before certainty arrives. The willingness to carry responsibility before recognition. The discipline to choose a direction before receiving permission. And when the map disappears, character becomes the compass. The map may never return. that does not mean you're lost. Because when a civilization loses its maps, the future belongs to those who can still find their way. This is part of the TOMAAS prophecies, cinematic essays that don't just reflect the world, but read between its fractures through layered visuals and emotional pattern recognition. Art isn't decoration, it's intel. It translates what we haven't yet learned to name, because by the time everyone understands the shift, it already happened. And if something here felt uncomfortable familiar, leaves a thought it triggered, even one sentence. And if you're drawn to the visual works behind these ideas, you can explore more of my digital artworks and original photography at TOMAAS.com.